Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News with me, Toyosi, Etim, Effiong.
And me, Stephanie Coker. Our next guest believes style is an expression of oneself. So the appearance to be fashionable is subjective. Editor-at-large for BellaNaija Style, Mazzi Odu, is a writer and editor. Her work has appeared in global media publications such as The Business of Fashion, Harper's Bazaar, and Guardian Nigeria. We welcome Mazzi into our studio to discuss Nigeria's budding fashion scene and its projection on the world stage. Welcome to the morning show,
Welcome to the morning show, Mazzi.
Thank you.
It's good to see the face behind BellaNaija Style.
Well, there's actually lots of faces behind BellaNaija Style, to be fair. We're in a dynamic, small but mighty team.
Nice.
mighty.
And you started last year, I believe.
Yes, I started in October last year, just before LFDW, so it's a bit of a baptism by fire, but we're going from strength to strength.
Yeah, you have worked at some really big, reputable publications. Now, how has that influenced your work at BellaNaija Style?
Well, it's really interesting because I was more of a contributor. So whereas at BellaNaija Style, I'm, there full time. But I think in terms of influencing, I think what we need here more in Africa is sort of our own fashion, our own journalism, our own creativity, our own photographers being seen akin and on a par, not just sort of like as a sideline to the main events that are happening in the 4 global capitals in the world. Yeah. So that's something that I, feel that all of us at BellaNaija Style, we champion. We often put a focal point on African designers. We put a focal point on African models, people like Uju, also Uju Marshall, Maiwa, there's so many, Ducky. I mean, so we always are sort of thinking, how do we put a spotlight on our own? Not to say that there isn't amazing stuff going on in the rest of the world, but actually celebrating ourselves and thus defining our own narratives.
And nice, and that's changing the narrative as well. Like, I know that you do a lot of, because with the Golden Globes, you only focused on the African winners.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, I think that's something that, you'll appreciate in news media. People often will focus, there's also business sides, so you'll focus on what your readers are interested in. Yeah. And for us at BellaNaija Style, this is not to say that we have readers obviously globally, but we know people come to our platform because they want to hear about people, who look like them, people who are from their home countries or in the diaspora. So we've made that a real conscious decision. We're trying to sort of be that go-to location. If you're looking for all things style-related, fashion-related from the African continent, you come on BellaNaija Style.
Yeah. Nice. How would you describe the evolution of fashion in Africa?
Well, here's the thing. I think that obviously in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, we've had a masses of change. We had a Rise Fashion Week that sort of got the ball rolling back in the early mid-noughties, for those who were there. ultimate TBT. And then obviously, one cannot, deny the incredible impact that LFDW has had. Right. Lagos Fashion Design Week and, all the sterling work that Omoyemi Akerele and all of the team have done in actually putting a platform, because beyond the actual show, they're taking these designers to Petit Romo, they're taking these designers to London Fashion Week, to Paris. So it's not just, having our own homegrown fashion week on the continent, same in South Africa. It's also about getting into those, getting that market opportunity, getting into those shops, getting into Selfridges, because, that's what you want to do, to grow your business ultimately.
Nice. And what did you think of the Davido and Orange Culture collaboration? Because that actually is being sold. The If collection is being sold at Selfridges. Yes. What does that do for us as Nigerian buyers?
I think it's amazing. Obviously, Bayo is an incredible designer. So I think, what he's done with Orange Culture has been incredible, because he's also expanded the dialogue of what menswear looks like. So, there's a bit of androgyny in there. There's a bit of sort of, some women also buy from him as well. And I think, obviously, this music and fashion collab is something we've seen a lot in the rest of the world. Yeah. So it's really fantastic to also see, that collab. Davido is, one of the biggest stars on the continent, not just Nigeria. Yeah. So I think it was a really, great symbiotic, because fashion and music, they've always gone hand in hand forever.
And especially to be sold in such a big store.
Exactly.
Like
but let's veer away from that for now. Cultural appropriation was a hot topic last year, especially with Beyonce and then Stella McCartney, all of that. What are your thoughts on people borrowing from other cultures?
It's really interesting you ask, because I'm a great advocate of the idea of bricolage. So bricolage being that we all are influenced from different things. So I think that I understand that people might get upset if they see an Ankara print on Stella McCartney and think, how come, she's going to be hailed and someone else here won't? But then
why?
I also see those as opportunities. So, if you think about sort of what's happened with Gucci. So, obviously he's plugged into the fact that lots of sort of, black stars love his stuff.
Yes.
And yet at the same time, he's also plugged into Dapper Dan. So Dapper Dan has been in Harlem forever and a day, doing these interesting, he himself doing LV print and Gucci print items. So you could say that he was copying from them. But now Alessandra and him have come together and are like co-producing collections. So I do see, obviously, people get upset about seeing things on the international stage and not seeing their own. But then I also think we should also look to growing our own domestic markets and celebrating ourselves here.
Yeah. And then how would you say social media has propelled us in terms of our fashion? Like, how has it really helped us get our fashion out there?
I mean, social media is incredible, really, because you can put yourself out there and you can be trending. So it has sort of, in a way, opened up the entry bar. You're not having to sit there and knock on doors and get sort of fashion editors to get behind you or get people in the industry to think, okay, you're in now. I mean, right now, globally, Africa is hot. But at the same time, you then have to think beyond that moment, because for all you know, in a few seasons' time, it might be all about things in Asia. And I think what social media does is it helps, brands grow. I mean, here in Nigeria, JZO have pretty much, grown through amazing social media campaigns. I mean, Tokyo James has sort of used his background of having run a magazine and art direction to have, like, the sickest campaigns that people then get behind his brand as well, obviously. So I think, I think social media is a really fantastic tool. And I think any brand that doesn't optimize those opportunities is, really sort of doing themselves a disservice.
You mentioned some names.
I'm sorry, we have to go on a short break now, Mazzi, but you'll be back with us on Our Take. It's time for another short break. Next up, we'll be talking about global designer brands who have caught up with the Nigerian and the African product. Stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show. Now, big designers are keen into specific ways that can ensure not only their longevity, but their efforts to remain current and in the minds of their bottom line as well. In the past, designers like Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana relied on supermodels such as Naomi Campbell, Linda Evangelista, and Cindy Crawford to strut the runway of their latest collection. However, jaw-dropping supermodels are not the only people brands are seeking to generate buzz these days. Spearheading this movement is designer Dolce & Gabbana, who have recruited the children of A-list stars for their autumn-winter 2018 line for Milan Fashion Week. Hollywood stars like P. Diddy, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Tommy Lee, to name a few, supported their kids as they strutted down the runway. Now, the question is this movement short-lived, or do you think this is here to stay? And joining us again is Mazzi Odu, editor-at-large, BellaNaija Style, and of course, my beautiful Stephanie Coker.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, Mazzi, do you think this is here to stay, or do you think this is like a short-term thing?
It's really interesting you say that, because I think it's had seeds from before. I mean, we've had, Jude Law's son Rafferty has walked the runways of London Fashion Week for some time. Also, let's not forget Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith, yes, who, basically had a campaign with Louis Vuitton. He even did Louis Vuitton women's wear. So I think this idea of sort of leveraging on the star power of celebrity offspring has been sort of going for a while. Obviously, Dolce & Gabbana took it to the next level. By just, like, filling their catwalk. It's like, spot the parent, whoever's cheering for hardest on the front row. But I think it's something that, again, it sort of ties into social media. I mean, there's so many ways now that it will sort of build a buzz and a trend beyond sort of having a glossy ad in a glossy magazine, which was the previous route.
Yeah, and it's not just the kids of the celebrities, it's some celebrities themselves. Like we saw Tiny Temper also on the Dolce & Gabbana runway. Yeah, so it's do you think this attracts people to the brand? Or do you think, I don't know, like, what's your take on this?
I mean, obviously, as you said, we've got the bottom line to think about. So you're obviously trying to always widen your reach. And, you know, someone like Tiny Temper, he's known as a good dresser. He's been on GQ's best dress list pretty much since he launched. He himself also has his own line, you know, which he showed at London Collections Men, What We Wear, to, you know, huge success. I mean, very critically acclaimed. But I think it's also gained sort of that whole fluidity. I mean, everyone sort of is, you know, the slasher element. So you can be in music, you can be a model, and then thus these brands, these global brands, can key into all your different audiences and the people who follow you.
Yeah, and someone else who was used a lot during Fashion Week. Well, used, not used and abused, but her body was looking real right on that runway, was Tiana Taylor.
Yeah.
Now, it was interesting because she's not your go-to model because she's not 5'9". She doesn't have the body that you would think, but she has a great body. But she has a booty, she has 6 packs. So it was really interesting to have that kind of person on the runway as well. And do you think that that, again, is to do with social media?
I think people now want to see an element or something that's a smidgen of themselves. So if we're looking at sort of, if you're trying to penetrate black markets, if you've got a girl with, you know, plenty front and back, people are going to be like, okay, that kind of looks like me. If you sort of see an ectomorph type shape, someone's 5'11" and skinny, you might think, well, how does this band relate to me? And we're all very much about connectivity. We're wanting to see, even if it's just, you know, a vague refraction of yourself, you just want to see that. So Tiana's going to appeal, you know, to that particular demographic. It's a bit like what, you know, Kanye West has done with his runway. He's been a champion of diversity. He's had Asian girls, white girls, black girls, Indian girls, Hispanic girls, because he wants his brand, Yeezy, to appeal to everybody. He doesn't just want one sort of person thinking they can participate.
Yeah, that's a lot like Rihanna.
Yes,
Rihanna in the Fenty Puma.
Exactly.
She really brings out different, not your conventional beauty.
Exactly. And I was going to talk about the unconventional models, because we now have a push for curvy models. So they're like brands that actually have what's it called, like plus size. I was looking for the polite word. Plus size models on their runway. And this also has to do with the inclusion, because everybody's now all about diversity and inclusion. So are we seeing a major shift, and is this going to be long lasting again, in your opinion?
You see, I think that's it's a really interesting question, because at the end of the day, fashion is also a business. Yes, you're selling a fantasy, but there's also a business side. So, and people, human beings, I think we're all like that. Sometimes we want to see fantasy. So we want to see people who just look ridiculous and like almost hyper real.
Yeah.
But then, you know, most of the time you also want to have that balance. You want to see people that look like you. And, you know, whether we like it, you know, demographics show people are getting slightly bigger, you know, both height and girth. So to not cater for people who are above size 16 is financially not necessarily the wisest move. I mean, obviously, there's some luxury brands who still stick to the no bigger than a size 14. Sorry, in a subtle way. There's some shops you just have to respect yourself. Respect yourself and just, just accept that, you know, I can just participate from afar rather than actually wear the clothes.
So how can we reach you?
Well,
how can people reach BellaNaija Style?
Very, very easy. Our handle is at BellaNaija Style. My handle is at Mazzi Odu. We're always looking to hear from people and also to get feedback, and also if you're a budding designer, creative, hit me up.
Amazing. It's been amazing having you here on the show, Mazzi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching from my entire team and I here in Lagos. All that's left for us to say is enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day.
Goodbye.
Bye.